Well, hello and welcome to the Movie Paradise. I'm your host, Nathanael Molnár, and this is Movie Night Tonight. Every week we watch a new movie and talk about it in depth, with each month having a new theme. We are currently in the month of December, which is our month of holiday movies, and the movie we're discussing tonight is The Night Before. I'm joined by a great guest today. We have Rob Giachinta joining us.
I'm back, bitches. Let's get this party started. It's going to be awesome.
All right, on that note, let's start by, Rob, what are your first impressions after watching The Night Before, and roughly how many times would you say you've seen it?
This is probably like my fifth or sixth time seeing it.
Oh, wow.
Again, this is my favorite Christmas movie used to be Elf. I think this is my new one that I tend to watch this once or twice every holiday season now, and the main reason I love it so much is just the camaraderie between the three guys and their chemistry. You really feel like they've been friends for this long, and this is a year-long tradition, and it kind of just reminds me of hanging out with my friends and making memories like they do.
I'd say this is my second time seeing it. I saw it once before in theaters, but it was a while ago. I don't really remember it, so I really like this movie a lot. I think I agree with you. I think the best part of the film is the dynamic between, you've got Joseph Gordon-Levitt, you got Seth Rogen, you got Anthony Mackie. Yeah. And I really like that Seth Rogen is kind of a creature of habit. He works with a lot of the same people. And I really like that in this movie, he works with all new people. You know,
well, he's worked with Joseph Gordon-Levitt before.
Well, not
50-50.
That, okay, one.
And
so
that
one
was
time.
the director, too, of 50-50 did this one, too.
Yes. So one other movie.
Yeah.
But, you know, this is the movie you would kind of expect, like, James Franco to be in the leading role. He pops up in the movie. And if I haven't said already, this is a spoiler discussion. So if you have not seen The Night Before, watch the movie and then come back to this discussion later, because we're talking all things spoilers about The Night Before.
Yep.
But, you know, this is the kind of movie you would expect, like, James Franco to be in the leading role. You know, his normal crew. But you don't really have that with this. You have Joseph Gordon-Levitt, which he did work on 50-50 with, and you got Anthony Mackie, and I really like it changes things up and it freshens things up. And I like that. And I do think this movie has a surprising... it's not a super deep movie, but it has a surprising amount of depth than I was expecting it to have.
It deals with, like, real-life issues that many adult, like, friends have that they had from childhood, of, like, trying to stay connected even though, like, your lives are going off in different directions, and one's successful, one's having a kid, and then one's kind of, like, down on his luck, and how, like... But still to this day in this movie, they still come together on this one day because of the bond they have between when they... What was the Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character's name? I don't know.
Ethan?
When his parents died, and they still have that connection when they first, like, went over to his house and made him feel good, and they ended up hanging out and going to that party. And that you can see how much that means to that character, and how much just, like, his life might suck, but he's got this one night where he knows he's going to have his best friends with him. Yeah,
and I think that's really what sets The Night Before apart from a lot of these other kind of comedies, is that while you do have all of the comedy and all that great stuff that, you know, we're all watching this movie, we're cracking up, laughing, having a good time, but there's also that extra layer to it where it hits on the emotional beats and it develops its characters. The Anthony Mackie, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Seth Rogen, they go through a journey throughout this film, and they actually have character arcs and character depth, and that helps make The Night Before not just this kind of, it's a raunchy R-rated comedy. Yeah. It that kind of helps transcend the film.
Agree. So we were mentioning that Jonathan Levine did this, and I think he gets some of the best work out of Seth Rogen. I mean, this and 50-50 are some of my favorite performances. Different performances, obviously, but I think they work well together. And he's also directing that new movie, Flarsky, this summer that's coming out.
Oh,
the one with Charlize Theron.
Yeah. Oh, that's
the romantic comedy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Now I know what you're talking about. Yes.
He's doing that one, so I'm excited. And then you have Evan Goldberg working on the script that we found out, and that he's best friends with Seth Rogen. They work on a lot of projects together. And I don't know about you, but like there's rarely a time like when this group of people come together and make a movie that I don't at least appreciate it.
Yeah.
I didn't like The Guilt Trip. I don't know if you've seen that
one.
Oh,
I really like that one.
Oh, you do?
I really like that movie.
That one couldn't stand. And I don't really like The Interview either. I know you like that one.
Yeah, I like that one.
But other than that, usually they hit it out. It's either a single or they hit it out of the park.
I think they really have locked on to this very specific kind of comedy. And it's very unique to a lot of the other comedy groups that we have out there. Because when you look at this comedy group, you've got Seth Rogen, you've got James Franco, Jonah Hill, and of course now it extends on to Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Anthony Mackie. This kind of cluster of comedians and filmmakers, they've really kind of isolated their own kind of comedy. That's very different from if you look at any of the other comedy groups like Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly. Like it's very different.
That seems like more like cartoonish comedy to me. Yeah. Like a way like it's so like stuff like the Happy Time Murderers and that new movie Sherlock Holmes. Like
I don't think you can call the Happy Time Murderers a comedy. You have to laugh in order for it to be a comedy.
They're just so effing ridiculous. I can't even take them seriously. With the Night Before, obviously you do have like some stuff that's beyond like Jesus Christ, but you also have kind of just situational comedy and real life comedy, and that's the only comedy that I really laugh at for the most part.
Exactly.
I don't laugh at like people slipping on banana peels or like
although they do have a couple of times where they're slipping in this movie. But no, I completely agree with you, and I think the reason why is that unlike a lot of other comedy groups and comedy teams making films today, consistently Seth Rogen, Evan Goldberg, James Franco, this whole cluster of comedians, they've been making R-rated comedies since before R-rated comedies were cool.
Yeah.
And I think in their films, they understand it's kind of the real-life reality thing that you're talking about. Real life is R-rated. They do a really good job of, in their movies, like Superbad, Pineapple Express, This Is the End, any of those kinds of films, they do a really good job of bringing this balance of actually just good comedy and kind of reflecting the real world and real people and human dynamics. And I think that's the reason why their films work so well and why they stand out and stand the test of time.
Mm-hmm. Who would you say was your favorite character out of the trio
in this movie?
Yeah,
I think Seth Rogen easily, and I think this is I think the best comedic performance I've ever seen from Seth Rogen.
Really?
I think this is the best he's been comedically in a movie. I think in Steve Jobs he obviously gave a better dramatic performance, but I don't think he's been better in a comedy.
I'd have to think about it, but it's definitely up there. But I can't help but I don't know, I just really just feel for Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character the whole movie, in my opinion. That's what
I think he's the heart of the movie, but I think where the big laughs come from
comedy-wise, yes. But just overall, when I think of this movie, I always think of Joseph Gordon-Levitt. That's just because he is you start with him and end with him. In a way. Yeah. And another thing about these Seth Rogen type of comedies, you always get great cameos and jump. And I think Michael Shannon gives one of the best side performances.
See, I think it's a little more than a cameo, but yes, I completely agree.
With these side character roles.
Yeah,
he was really good. Who was the actor's name who was driving the limo?
Oh, Nathan Fielder.
He was funny, and I like Eliza Glazer. James Franco
Mindy
pops
Kaling.
up. Mindy Kaling.
Yeah.
Liz Kaplan was funny as well. I mean, you just have a great collection of people that are working together doing it. The only one I find Tracy Morgan's narrator kind of just whatever.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not even that part. They do the narration in the very beginning. And the end. There's no consistency.
But I don't find him funny, to be honest. But,
I mean, I'm a fan of him in certain projects in certain instances. Yeah. But I will say that the narration in this movie felt a little bit unnecessary. It, like you said, it bookends the film and it opens the film, but it's not prevalent at all in the movie. I think it just kind of felt like it was just a riff on the fact that a lot of these old Christmas movies begin with a person telling a story, and it's I think it was just kind of playing on that as opposed to actually having any sort of importance to the movie. But I think that's where The Night Before really works as a Christmas film and a holiday film, because this is our segment of holiday movies. And the question when we've been doing these installments this month has been, is the movie that we're talking about really a Christmas movie? And we discussed It's a Wonderful Life. Have you seen It's a Wonderful Life before?
No.
So, I won't spoil anything for you.
I don't care.
But when we watched It's a Wonderful Life, on the show we discussed The fact that we didn't think it was actually a Christmas movie because Christmas, the holiday itself, was not central to the film. It was just set around Christmas. The same kind of defense we used when I say Die Hard is absolutely not a Christmas movie because Christmas is not integral to the film. If you take Christmas and switch it out with a different holiday, it doesn't change the fabric of the movie at all. But then when we discussed Home Alone is very much a Christmas movie. So I posed a question to you. Having seen The Night Before, would you say The Night Before is absolutely a Christmas movie, or is it just set during Christmas?
Oh, I think it's 100%, because Christmas is a big character in this movie, I feel like. It's what brought them all together in the first place, and what keeps bringing them together is Christmas. It's kind of, sort of like the MacGuffin of the story, or just like you could say those tickets were as well.
Yeah.
But you see how Christmas, like, what it does to one character as it does to the other. And Joseph Gordon-Levitt, it's kind of his one day of, like, pure happiness.
Yeah.
But, like, with Anthony Mackie's character, he has to kind of face his family and stuff like that and deal with stuff that he's not really comfortable doing anymore because of his stardom.
But, no, I completely agree. I think this movie is definitely a Christmas film. And like
maybe
I was saying,
Christmas Eve film.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. A Christmas Eve film. Woo.
The night before.
Yes.
Christmas.
But I do think that this is a Christmas movie. And like I was saying before, the test I always run is if you switch out the holiday with a different holiday, does it fundamentally change the film? And it does. Because, like you were just saying, what Christmas means to the characters and for the character development and the character arcs, that is so crucial to the film working. And you have that scene where Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character Ethan is walking down the sidewalk
and
at
the
night.
Santas,
and the Santas are there, and maybe it's a little bit
crass.
Yeah,
that was
cheesy.
one of the scenes I didn't really laugh
Yeah.
at, but I knew what it was going for.
Exactly.
At least.
You understand what it means because, like you were talking about before, Ethan's gone through some shit. He's gone through some hard times losing his family, everything, and
screwing up with his girlfriend.
Yeah, and he puts everything that he holds valuable. He puts that into Christmas, and that means so much to him. And I liked watching that scene because the way the Santas were talking, you could tell they had no idea what personally happened to him, but it wasn't done in a forceful way.
But like, you could also tell that, like, even the guy said, like, "Oh, you're definitely going through something. It's not because we're dressed as Santa. It's definitely something else." And he'd be like, "No, it's not." But clearly, it was.
Well, and when they brought up his parents, that felt natural. It could have been forced where we're like, okay, we get the point of what the filmmakers are trying to do, but actually within the scene, it felt natural for them to say, like, so I forget the line, but something about his parents, and of course we know what happened to his parents, and so I there were some scenes that were very written in a very subtle way and like performed in a more subtle way that we don't see a ton of that in a lot of other kind of movies that are within the same vein, and I think that helps set The Night Before apart.
What would you say was your favorite scene of the movie?
I think most likely when Seth Rogen is in the church.
That was the whole church sequence.
Yeah, that scene is brilliant.
The stuffed animals. He's, oh, hello!
The nativity scene?
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, man. That scene is brilliant.
Yeah.
I loved that scene. I thought it was it flowed so well, and it had such a nice... It kept building and building, and I thought the escalation of that scene was perfect.
Agreed.
And I think part of that is just Seth Rogen is so great in that. Mm-hmm. Let's go back to Seth Rogen for a little bit. So, I said I think he gives... this is probably one of the best comedic performances he's ever given. And I think it's because he literally puts his all into his performance in this film. He is completely... because he's fucked up the whole movie.
He pulls a Tiffany Haddish. He just goes for it.
Yeah. Although, in this, he actually succeeds with it. He actually does a good job and is not terrible. I'm saying, power to everyone who loves Tiffany Haddish. I don't care for her as an actor.
In power.
But he goes for it in this movie, and he's the whole time, even if he's in the background, you can watch him.
If he's not funny, this movie pretty much fails.
Exactly.
I think. Because his scenes are just so over the top that if they don't hit, you're gonna be like, oh my god, that really stood out.
And you know what works so well is that the scenes, while they are over the top, they don't feel too over the top.
Agreed.
Like, it never felt like it was going too far where, like, okay, that's ridiculous.
It wasn't like an office Christmas party where they get, like a, what was it, like a mob at the end, or like a drug deal. Like, it turns into like an action movie.
Yeah.
This movie didn't have, like... I've seen that in a lot of comedies nowadays, like, where the end just turns into, like, this action movie.
They just keep upping the ante until it's way too much.
What was that? The Rough Night ended in, like, a shootout. Like, I'm like, come on, let's get back to, like, simple story comedy.
Exactly.
To it.
And a simple story and character-based comedy.
Yeah.
And I think even when this movie does have the set pieces, like you have the limo getting hit, and you have Seth Rogen attached to the reindeer, and he's going flying. Like, even those where the potential lies for it to start getting too big for its own good, it doesn't go on for too long, and it keeps it grounded and keeps it reeled in. And I think that's where The Night Before's strength is that it doesn't, it resists the urge to keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger and more intense, and it keeps it grounded in its characters. So while we have talked about the strength of the film is a lot of these more intimate character moments and emotional beats and the character arcs and character development, there were times I would say that those scenes in which those moments happen felt a little bit contrived.
Yeah.
And I like the scene at the end with Ethan on his Lizzie Kaplan's what's her character's name? Oh, whatever. Well, all right. Her so on her doorstep.
Yeah.
And you know, he's having his whole scene, and then, well, of course, the scene before where he proposes. A lot of these moments, while they do help give some more dimension to the character and help flesh him out a little bit more, the scenes themselves felt forced.
Things that are just, like, kind of put into the plot. Mm-hmm. So, like, I guess if I'm gonna talk, I'm getting real nitpicky because I don't really hit. But, like you notice that, like, that the nickname they call that quarterback, that famous quarterback, they call him the Messiah. Yeah. You realize that the only reason, like, the writers put that in is just so at the end they could have that joke, like, oh, you crucified the Messiah, and he had the Jewish thing on. Yeah. And, like, there's a couple of jokes like that where, like, I go, like, oh, well, like, you kind of just, like, it wasn't, like, natural. You kind of had to set it up. But, I mean, again, I'm just...
Well, I mean, every movie kind of has...
I'm just fishing for shit.
Yeah. But, I mean, I thought a lot of the comedy works really well, and I like, at least, I feel the same way about action movies as I do comedies, in that I appreciate, even if it doesn't completely 100% work out, I appreciate the attempt to make it something more than just an action movie or just a comedy. If an action film comes out and it is just, you know, a mindless Liam Neeson action movie or something.
Hey.
And we watch it and we're like, okay, there's some cool action scenes, but there's nothing really to it. Like, say, The Commuter.
Hey!
You know.
Don't be disrespecting The Commuter.
You didn't like that movie.
I gave it like a 2.8.
So you didn't like it, but it's alright. But, you know, something along those lines where there's no character development, there's nothing to really build the characters, it's just action and like a nameless face that you just watch for 2 hours. You know, that is, you know, that's fine and that's serviceable and you can get something out of that. But I appreciate when the action movie, where even if it doesn't work, they attempt to have the scenes to flesh out their characters, or they try to add some sort of subplot or underlining narrative that will bring out an emotional response. I appreciate the attempt, even if it doesn't work, and I feel like it mostly worked and didn't work.
That's why I think this is why this is like the Christmas movie I watch every year, is like, because it's not just a like mindless comedy or whatever. Yeah. Because it has so much like value to it. In my opinion, that's why I can watch it every year. I always seem to pick out something new from it every year and grow a deeper appreciation for it every single year I watch it.
Yeah, no, I completely agree.
I hope you buy it on Blu-ray.
I will be buying this one on Blu-ray now.
I think I got that for like $8.
That's a great deal.
Yeah.
And that was like a Black Friday?
Yeah, but it was like right when it came out, pretty much.
Yeah. I'm definitely gonna buy this one on Blu-ray.
It's probably cheap.
Yeah, it probably is. But
it didn't do too great at the box office.
It's not, when people talk about Seth Rogen's filmography, they don't mention this one.
Agreed.
Which,
I think it kind of just went under the radar.
I mean, I would personally, I'd rank it above Pineapple Express.
What part of it might be is because like it didn't have his big like group. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think
I feel like some of the ones without his group, like this one, or no one talks about Observe and Report, and I think that's another good movie. You like really The Guilt Trip? I don't, but whatever. And that's another one that people don't talk about.
Yeah.
So maybe that has something to do with it.
He honestly, Seth Rogen's built up a pretty good filmography.
Yeah.
He's a very. I don't think he gets enough credit.
40-Year-Old Virgin.
Yeah.
Excellent. I Love Knocked Up. Have you seen that?
Yeah, that's a great one.
Night Before, Observe and Report, Superbad.
Yeah. He's done a lot of great ones.
On and on. This Is the End. You like Pineapple Express is pretty good.
Yeah. And I think it's because I feel like he kind of gets typecast by the audience as being like, oh, he's just like the schlubby stoner guy.
Yeah.
But he is more than that. He can
play both roles. He can play the straight man and the comedy guy too. So
yeah, he can be in his comedy. He can be very diverse, and he takes on a lot of different projects and a lot of like he doesn't fall into the trap of making the same movie over and over again. Yeah. Which I think we've seen some comedy stars fall into that trap, but Seth Rogen hasn't. He really tries to, and bring it back to what I was saying at the beginning of this, working with new people. Working with Joseph Gordon-Levitt, working with Anthony Mackie.
Not just working with your husband for 5 straight movies, Melissa McCarthy. You suck.
Great dramatic actor.
Her husband was in that movie too. That's the first good thing they've ever been in together.
Well, he didn't direct it, so that's where it was good.
He was like, "Oh, do you want me to help film some shots?" No. You just stay over there.
Okay, we got you a VIP trailer. It's marked bathroom, but it's your trailer. You can just hang out in there. We'll lock the door.
Let me out. I want to shoot some.
I want to direct.
There needs to be a scene where she slips on a chicken.
We're going for an Oscar, not a Razzie. Stay in there.
She's like, she could honestly, like, she probably won't, but like, she could this year be like, win Best Actress and also win Best Actress for the Razzie too.
I don't know if she'll
even be nominated for both.
So a point you were mentioning as we were starting to watch the movie. The point you were talking about is that I think we both aren't very big fans of Jillian Bell.
No.
And you were saying that this is the one thing she's been in that you actually like, and I'll agree with you.
Yeah,
and I think I know the reason why.
She was a real character. She wasn't like a friggin' maniac or something like that.
Because in a lot of her other movies,
she's snorting crack or whatever. Like literally, I'm not even making that up.
She plays these really over the top characters, and they go beyond being characters to being caricatures. You know, they are just ridiculous, not grounded in reality characters, and she has this sort of frenetic energy as an actor, which with the right director and in the right role can be a really positive thing. Mm-hmm. And then in other movies like Fist Fight or Office Christmas Party, it can just be this wild, crazy thing that means nothing for the movie and just gets annoying. And I think in this movie, she plays the stray woman. She's very she's just like.
But she has some one-liners that are pretty funny.
Yeah, but she's not the crazy. She's not the one. She's not doing shrooms with Seth Rogen.
Thank God.
She's just like, hey, and it's a minor role. Like compared to a lot of the other films, it's a much smaller role, but it's a much more reserved role. And I think that's why we look at this film and we can say, hey, we like Jillian Bell a lot more in this movie, is because while it is a smaller role, it's a lot more limited and it's a lot more restrained.
And I think it was a detriment to her career, because besides this, she usually does what we've been saying. Yeah. And after Rough Night came out last year, which she was horrible in, I haven't heard anything from her since.
I think she had a string of bad movies that not only were the movies were bad, but she was one of the reasons why they weren't good.
Yep.
And she wasn't that good in those films. And I do agree. I think that kind of halted her career a little bit. Hopefully she'll be able to get some work where she's doing more along the lines of these kinds of roles, where she's a little more restrained, a little more reserved, and she's not going full out. And maybe she can carve like a new career for herself in that sort of vein. Because I think she could be something. She could be a good comedic actor. Yeah, and I feel she could be an actor who brings a lot to a movie and adds to it. But the way I think she was trying to go for a certain shtick. And I think she was trying to carve herself as, oh, she's the person who does this.
And you can't blame it all on her. That's obviously like what the character's supposed to be.
Yeah, but and the director coached her to do it that way. She needs to
realize that it's not like, it's not appealing. Like, I mean, I'm sure there's people who do like her, but I can't see a lot of people liking it though. It's really annoying. It's so.
Well, I mean, all films subjective. Some people might really think that kind of comedy is funny.
Oh my god, Office Christmas. Oh my god, that was horrible. That's just a horrendous. Talk about a terrible Christmas movie.
Yeah.
That and Fred Claus. P.U.
All right, so I'll ask you, other than just the jokes not being funny, what is it about The Night Before that makes it a superior Christmas and holiday movie compared to the shortcomings of Office Christmas Party or Fred Claus?
I'd say mostly, I'd say there was more committed performances in this movie than the other one. I feel like there was a lot of people just hammering it in Office Christmas Party.
Yeah.
And while The Night Before, again, like I said, had some crazy elements, I could 100% see that way more being like a realistic story compared to Office Christmas Party, which was completely off the rails insanity. Like with people flying from the rafters or whatever, and like a crime element like put into the movie. It was dumb.
Yeah, and I think another thing is that for Office Christmas Party, in that case, that was a movie that just kind of used Christmas as the backdrop of the film.
Oh, agreed. That could have just been any party.
Yeah, it was just, it's an Office Christmas Party.
Yeah.
But Christmas was never, like, a significant part of the film or anything. I think what The Night Before, as we were saying previously, the film relies on Christmas. And as you mentioned, Christmas is sort of a character. Christmas is such a defining part of the characters of the film and the plot of the film and the narrative. Everything hinges on the holiday of Christmas and the holiday season as well. And I think that is a big reason why something like The Night Before can stand out more in terms of the holiday spirit of the movie, taking the quality of the jokes aside. That's how something like The Night Before can stand out as opposed to something like an Office Christmas Party or something like a Fred Claus.
Fred Claus. Do you think there's more good Christmas movies out there or more bad Christmas movies out? Like if you were like to, or would you say it's split?
I don't. I'd say,
I feel like me personally, I've seen more bad Christmas movies than good ones.
Yeah. Well, I think there's a lot of movies
but
that aren't...
I still haven't seen A Christmas Story until Sunday. But so this is something I need to catch up on.
Yeah. I mean, I think there are a lot of Christmas movies out there that aren't really Christmas movies.
And they just go for the cash grab and they come out around Christmas, so you'll go see them and they'll make their money
like
back.
Like an Office Christmas Party. Yes. That's not like innately a Christmas movie. It's kind of capitalizing on Christmas.
Yeah.
The Christmas holiday and everything.
You couldn't just call it Office Party. You know?
Yeah. But so I think there are a lot of quote-unquote Christmas movies out there that aren't necessarily Christmas films.
Yeah.
But I think it has the same ratio, I think, as any other genre.
Oh, yeah.
I think you have your really good Christmas movies that people look at and identify with, like It's a Wonderful Life, like A Christmas Story.
Elf's a good one.
Yeah, Elf, Home Alone is held up there.
I haven't seen that in a long time.
Yeah, we just did that one last week.
Yeah.
So I think there are a lot of good ones, and like any other genre, there's a lot of bad ones. Mm-hmm. And I think when you look at the lineup that we have for movie night tonight for this month of holiday movies, and we talked about It's a Wonderful Life, we talked about Home Alone, and we will be talking about It's a Christmas Story next week. The Night Before kind of stands out as like one of these is not like the other.
It's modern.
But I think it's important to include something like this because while it is sort of an atypical Christmas movie, it is a Christmas film nonetheless. And I think it brings different elements to the table than It's a Wonderful Life and Home Alone. Home Alone is more of like a family-friendly kind of... It's a comedy, but very completely different kind of comedy. It's a Wonderful Life is more about looking at the character of that James Stewart plays and looking at his life and a lot of more touching moments about realizing the beauty of life and all that. In A Christmas Story is its own thing. All these films kind of go for different things, and The Night Before brings something different to the table. It's not just bringing comedy, because we have comedy in Home Alone. Yeah. It's bringing a different kind of comedy. It's bringing something unique to the lineup that we have, and it's bringing something different. And I like that the Christmas movie genre can be rather diverse, and it can have something like It's a Wonderful Life as well as something like The Night Before. And I think it's because this genre has certain ideals and certain fundamentals that if you adopt into your film, and as long as you build a really compelling narrative around it, and anything else you want to add, like this sort of R-rated raunchy comedy, or maybe like a lot of action, or whatever you want it to include around those fundamentals and those basics, the holiday Christmas genre can encapsulate a lot of different kinds of films. And I think in our lineup, it's important to address and cover that sort of depth and breadth of films.
I know it's probably not likely, but I hope this is a movie that people look back. Like, because it only has like a 66 on Rotten Tomatoes, and I hope this movie's kind of like, I know this is comparing it to these other, like, but like a Fight Club or something like that, where like
a cult classic.
Yeah, like where people said like, oh, I think that was underlooked. Like, I think that wasn't appreciated when it came out. Like,
yeah.
Because like again, like it didn't make a lot of money. Like, not a lot of people saw it. People probably don't even really remember it. But I think it's one worth revisiting if you didn't check it out in theaters. I really think you should check it out.
Although you shouldn't be listening to this discussion if you've never seen the movie.
If you were curious, and
But I will second that notion. I will say The Night Before is one that clearly, like you said, didn't make that big of a splash. Not like 66 on Rotten Tomatoes is good, but not anything to write home about. Box office wise, it did okay. So this movie came out in 2015,
November.
And in the 3 years that it's been since this movie comes out, it's never really been talked about. It's never really been mentioned. So I don't know. I think the ship has kind of sailed at this point on it being discovered and being held as a Christmas classic or anything like that. But I think absolutely this is a movie that does, even though it is very different from the other movies we're looking at, it embodies the spirit of a Christmas movie and a holiday film. And I think it is definitely one that, even though you should have seen the movie if you're listening to this discussion, if you have not seen The Night Before, highly recommend it. And I think it is one worth sharing with other people and trying to bring others on. And especially if this kind of comedy resonates with you and you're a fan of the actors involved and the work that they bring and the work that they do. I think The Night Before is definitely one to keep in mind. So as we bring this discussion to a close, Rob, what would you say are your final thoughts on The Night Before?
In my opinion, this is a Christmas classic to me that I could see watching this for as long as I live, every Christmas.
Have you been watching it like every year since it came out?
Yeah, since I like one year, like I didn't actually watch like the Blu-ray. It was on HBO, so I watched it a couple of times on my phone. And then last year I watched it, and now this year I watched it. Yeah. And I might even in a couple of weeks watch it again. Like this is a movie I could also just watch in the middle of summer. I really I don't get I just find it hysterical, and the Christmas element adds something to it. It makes me somewhat like Christmas because I'm not a big fan of Christmas.
Rob doesn't like joy and happiness and cheer.
Oh, or elves. Overall, I think I'd give it a 4.3 out of 5.
Well, we don't generally rate them.
Oh, you told me you rated it.
Well, I was rating it for this week in movies.
Right,
but I mean, we can rate it if you like.
No, I don't care.
We have rated on the past.
I don't care.
What did you give it for a rating again?
A 4.3 out of 5.
All right. Well, I would give it a 4.2, I think.
Oh!
I like I said, I really like this movie. I really like that while it is just can be plainly a just funny movie, and I enjoyed it on that level. I think it also helps take it a step further by introducing all these character arcs and these character moments and more of an emotional level, and having that extra level of depth and dimension to the movie helps stand out amongst a lot of the other kinds of comedies in the same vein. I think it operates very well as a Christmas and holiday film. I definitely really enjoy it. I don't know if I'll necessarily commit to it as a new Christmas classic. If any movie I'm going to pick as the movie that I start watching every year on Christmas time, it's probably going to be It's a Wonderful Life.
But you said it's not a Christmas movie.
Yeah, I said... No, in the show, and if you had listened to the show, I said it's a Christmas classic, but not a Christmas movie. It is a Christmas classic because...
It's a good movie, not a good film.
It's a Christmas classic because we all watch it during Christmas, and that is the time that we set aside each year to watch and appreciate and love It's a Wonderful Life. But the movie in its DNA fundamentally is not a Christmas movie. It is set during... If you switched out... If you could say that it takes place at the beginning of December, and just because it snows. So, but yes, The Night Before... I don't know if I'll necessarily commit to it being one of my movies I watch every year for Christmas, but I definitely enjoy watching it. I'm definitely going to watch it again, and I will be buying it on Blu-ray. So that has been our discussion of The Night Before. Once again, I'm your host, Nathanael Molnár, and I'd like to thank Rob for being here for this discussion. Thanks for being here, Rob.
Hey, it was my pleasure.
Next week, we will be talking about another Christmas classic. We're going to be talking about, as I alluded to before, earlier in the show, we will be talking about A Christmas Story. I'm looking forward to that. That's going to be a good one. That's one of my favorite Christmas movies that I try to watch every year. So that will be a good discussion. That will be closing out this year, and that will actually be the season finale of Movie Night Tonight. Before we come back, before we come back with our next season. In January.
What season will that be? 3 or?
That'll be the second season.
Oh, wow.
So, the first season was September.
Are you going to leave it season 1 on like a cliffhanger, like a Thanos snap?
Or
something?
Yes.
Nathaniel snapped and half the crew went missing.
Yep. That is exactly how it's going to end. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe for more content. Be sure to follow us on all of our various social medias at Movie Night TNT. That's Movie Night TNT. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, you can find there. And through there, you can get our links to our YouTube, to our Spotify, to our iTunes. And that is where you can find every previous episode of Movie Night Tonight. All 4 months. What is this? I think this is the 13th. No. 14th. This is the 14th episode of Movie Night Tonight. So you can find all previous 13 episodes up there, and new episodes go up every Saturday. So make sure to check all that out. And until we discuss A Christmas Story next week, take it easy.